Welcome back, everybody. As you probably guessed from the title of the video as well as the thumbnail, this is the rifle that we are going over today. This is the complete rifle offered by Dirty Bird Industries, which is a proprietary brand for AR-15discounts.com, and they did send this rifle out for review. Now, this video has been in the works for a long time, and those of you guys who follow me on social media have probably seen this rifle for a year or so at this point, appearing in various posts. The reason for that, right up front, is the first one they sent out was wildly inaccurate. It was shooting 2 to 3 foot groups at 100 yards, and I don't know why I didn't take it apart. I basically just let them know, hey man, like this thing's, wildly inaccurate. Something's up with it. I don't know if the barrel nut wasn't tight or there was an issue with heat treating the barrel. I have no idea. Regardless, they said, first we've ever heard of anything like that, right? Of course, they sent it out to a YouTuber and there you go. But they obviously sent out a new upper and we got back to reviewing it and things have been normal. And in fact, things have been great since then. So basically today what we're gonna do first is head out to the range, shoot some groups with it. And I thought that I had a target camera going on that one, but for whatever reason, the image didn't record, so we don't have it. But we're gonna shoot the groups, show you guys the groups, and then come back here and sort of walk through this rifle piece by piece, let you guys know how it's performed and what I think of it overall at the end. And with that, let's head out to the range. Now we're gonna see what kind of accuracy we can get out of this rig here. So obviously we have the Surefire RC2 on the end. In the gun right now, we just have some M193, so nothing fancy, 55 grainers, and the Brownells MPO scope on there. Plenty of glass, 1 to 8. Target is downrange at 100 yards. We're gonna shoot a few different loads through it. And the rig we're using is the Caldwell shooting rest. And I think that's it. Let's see what we can do. It is windy out here today. It's a consistent wind, probably so much that we shouldn't be doing this test, but hey, real world conditions. Let's see. Not bad for blasting stuff at all. Up next, we have some Winchester. This is 69 grain with the Match King hollow point. Great bullet there, the Sierra Match King, and chambered in 223. We'll see how this gun likes it. Looks decent. The wind was kicking up there for those last 2 shots. I'm not sure if you guys can see that here. And the last load that we're going to test out is going to be some Federal loaded with the, it's chambered in 223, loaded with the Barnes TSX 55 grain, all copper bullet. So we'll see how that does. There's a lot of guys out there that like to hunt with those all copper bullets. Not mad at you. Interesting. Let's go check them out. The M193 might be the best group. We'll see. But so obviously that was the first one down here. Center to center. That's pretty respectable. Center to center. We're right at 1.5 inches on that one. So not bad at all about that. If you can get good accuracy of cheap stuff, I'll take that. Then down here, I believe it is these ones here because I already marked that one off. And same, 1.5 inches, center to center, with those 69 grainers. Definitely respectable groups. I don't know what the heck happened here. My theory is, so if you ever follow like crazy precision guys on YouTube and stuff like that, one thing they always do whenever they're switching a load or trying a new load or whatever the case may be is they shoot a fouling shot. Reason for that is the rifling engages differently with different length bullets. And because that's an all copper bullet, my guess is that's what happened. So in theory anyway, this round probably engaged with the fouling from that, and then after that it settled down here. It's the only thing I can think of that makes any sense. And it's entirely possible that that's true because again, we went from a normal bullet to an all copper one and sometimes crazy stuff can happen. So with that, if we include them all, we're right at 5.25 inches. If it's just the last 4, then we are right at 2 inches on that one. So that's my guess anyway. Who knows? That's why we test them out. Now that y'all have seen the accuracy, we'll walk through it piece by piece. Out here on the end, we have the Surefire SOCOM RC2, which they did send out for testing as well. So we left it on there for the video, but obviously we have a full review of this silencer. You guys can check it out. It's a fantastic silencer. But when you choose the muzzle device, when you're selecting your upper or just picking out individually over there at their website, they do offer a few different options for muzzle devices. This one here has the Surefire Warcomp on there, which is essentially a 3-prong with some porting. I'm fine with it. Would I pick that for a fighting rifle? No, I'd probably just go with the regular flash hider, but I know a lot of folks do like the Warcomp. But it's not going to hurt anything if you have the rifle suppressed. It's the same regardless. So with that, we'll move on back to the barrel itself. Barrel is a 16-inch affair, 5.56 chambering, 1-8 twist. It's made from 416R stainless steel. It's nitrided. It has basically a medium continuous contour out to a 0.75 gas block journal, and then in the front of the gas block, it is fluted to save some weight. So the accuracy that you guys saw out there was actually not what it's guaranteed for. It's guaranteed to 1 MOA, but of course that's probably with, you know, a match load out there, probably one I didn't have, maybe some 77 grainers, 75 grainers, who knows. Regardless, it is guaranteed to be an MOA shooter, so if you have any issues with that, with your gun, definitely let the folks over there know and they'll take care of you. But I don't think you will. I think my original one, there was just something wrong with it. And I think that was an abnormality rather than the norm, because all of the reviews I've read on this barrel, everyone's saying they're getting great accuracy out of it. So there is that. Continuing on back, our gas block there from the factory is dimpled and set. The set screws rather are put in with a high temp thread locker, which is exactly what I like to see. Continuing on to the handguard here. This is their handguard that they have there in-house. And basically we have our part up front here, so that way you can run a backup iron sights if you want to, mount the IR device if you want to, whatever you want to mount up front, you can go ahead and do so. Then we have the 1913 rail back here. Our M-lock slots are all the way around at not just the 9, 6, and 3 o'clock position, but also the intermediate positions and also on top here. So if you wanted to just hypothetically say run a clip-on thermal device with this, you could. All you need to do is put a 1913 rail on there with some M-lock slots and you'd be good to go. But obviously that's done to save a little bit of weight and make it a little bit more narrow when you're gripping the gun, and it does that well. Back here, where it meets up with the actual upper receiver. This is a system that at first, when I first saw it, I was a little bit skeptical of. And it's also used on another rifle that I've reviewed. I don't remember which one, but I know I've used it before. And what it has there is it has this little piece in the middle, and the way it interfaces with the barrel nut prevents it from turning. So you'll see here that there are no ears, anti-rotational tabs that a lot of other options use, but what happens here is you have this piece of steel interlocking with the steel of the barrel nut, and that prevents it from rotating the way that wedge goes in there. It's an interesting little system for sure. Again, not the first time I've seen it, and it definitely works just fine. It is rock solid. There's nothing going anywhere on the gun. Continuing to the upper itself, it is a Forge 7075 T6 aluminum affair, nothing too fancy. It is not T-marked, and with that, let's kind of get into the guts of this rifle. One cool thing about the rifle for sure is that it is fully ambi. So they do that in a number of different ways. They have their lower, which is a proprietary lower, but it is Forge 7075 T6 aluminum, which I dig for sure. Anybody who watches the channel here knows I'm a fan of that. But it has some unique things going on with it to allow it to be fully ambidextrous. So if I can pop these pins out, they are tight, and you guys will see why here when we take a look at the lower. But they're definitely tighter than normal, which certainly isn't a bad thing. But before we jump into the lower, I suppose we'll talk about the upper receiver components. Of course, it does have M4 feed ramps in there that do align with the barrel feed ramps, so nothing out of the ordinary there, but just pointing that out. The charging handle it comes with is the Radian Raptor. At this point, it's probably one of the more proven charging handles out there on the market. Of course, it is fully ambidextrous in terms of how it locks in, and it has that little gas busting ridge on there for when you're shooting suppressed. It helps minimize, it's not going to eliminate, but it does help minimize some of the gas that you're going to get blown back in your face. Now, this is their Dirty Bird Industries BCG, and it's got some cool things going on for it. So taking it apart, there's nothing crazy about the firing pin or anything like that, or the cam pin for that matter, but it is a nitrided bolt carrier group, and the bolt itself is 9310 steel, MP/HP tested. So it does have, for the new folks, what that means is it's high pressure tested, so HP, so they put a high pressure round through it, and then they magnetic particle inspect it to see if there's any cracks, any small fractures, anything like that that you can't detect with your naked eye, and they do it individually on these as well. And then our carrier here has some interesting things going on. Number one, we have the different cuts there taken out that you see on other competitive options as well, and what that's doing is allowing more dirt, grease, grime, whatever the case may be in there, and allowing the rifle to still cycle. It just gives it a little bit more room in there. Of course, it is fully nitrided, has our full auto profile on there. And then here on the rear, you'll notice that there's some things that are different. It actually gets a little bit larger than your standard carrier does. And what that's for is when it fits into the upper receiver, it prevents the tilt. So most of your mil-spec carriers will do a little bit of tilt like that. Sometimes you'll see some chattering going on back here that can be caused by that on your buffer. And what this is there for is to prevent that. It's to prevent any kind of tilt and keep it more in line with the bore as it cycles. Kind of interesting. And obviously we've had no issues with it to date, so it seems to work just fine. Now moving on to our lower receiver here. I suppose we should probably put it together to show you how everything functions, which we'll do here in a second, but just some of the things to go over while we have it apart. It does have a spacer there, or like an indexing point that you can adjust, so that way it keeps the tension on the upper and lower receiver really tight. That's why the pins were tight, and I was just talking about that there. Our trigger there is Dirty Bird 2-stage trigger. It's fantastic. It's very, very good, especially for the money. So basically you have your uptake there, which is about 2 pounds to 2.5 pounds. Now they do give you a different spring that you can put in there to make it heavier. I just went with the factory one, but they send it with the gun, so you have both options. And then our brake there, 2nd stage brake, right at 2 pounds. Very, very crisp. And our actual reset, very tactile, very audible. It's a fantastic trigger. If you're not hitting the target, it is not the trigger's fault. I can pretty much tell you that. And our lower receiver, the one kind of con I'm going to say of it is that it does have some special machining, which is nice. That's proprietary to them. So if you're going to do some special machining, I would open up the mag well. It just has a standard flare to it. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but a bigger flare is better in my opinion, and you really don't lose anything by going with it. And it has some serrations here up front if you want to, Marine Corps forward magwell grip it. But we'll throw it together here and kind of show you how these ambi features here do work. Just remember, before we throw it together, I want to show you guys something else here that's kind of unique to it. So the one downside of this system that I'm about to show you is that it's annoying to get out of the rifle, but what they use is a flat wire spring and a H1 buffer. So the buffer here is H1, so it has a tungsten piece in there as well as the traditional steel weights in there. So you note that by the orange coloration on there. But again, it uses a flat wire spring. There are other guns out there that use this, not many though. And one thing I will tell you is that the recoil impulse does feel smoother than your typical mid-length. Now, of course, your 16-inch mid-length guns are pretty smooth as it is, but I do think it's a combination of that. It's a combination of a little bit heavier buffer and this spring there. It just compresses a little bit differently. It's also supposed to be, I don't have the data on this, but supposed to last longer as well than your typical mil-spec spring. That said, getting it in and out of the rifle is rough because this flat spring likes to get caught on that detent. See what I'm saying? We finally got the buffer back in there and it is reassembled. So our ambidextrous controls, like I mentioned there, so we have our bolt lock, bolt release here on the right side of the gun, and they had to specially mill the lower to be able to do that. So that definitely is kind of a cool feature on it there. But basically, obviously the rifle is unloaded. You can push it in there and you can lock your bolt to the rear, just like so. And then at this point, to release it, you're just going to tap it as well. You can do that from the right side, of course. You can do it from the left side as well. And these parts there are fully billet. They are made, again, specifically for this receiver. The magazine release, ambidextrous as well. So you can take our magazine, put it in there, and then at this point, just come up, grab it, pull out like so. The magazines obviously do drop free as well, but I just wanted to show you guys that feature. Additionally, the selector switch is ambidextrous and it is 45 degrees, but you can swap it to 90 if you want to for whatever reason. I'm not sure why you'd want to. I like a 45-degree safety. I think most folks do. Is it a big deal if it's a 90? Absolutely not, but it is just a little bit more convenient in my opinion. Here on back, we do have a quick detach steel plate there at the back, and I should mention that because I didn't already. It does come with this steel M-lock sling attachment point. So the reason I mentioned that it is steel is if you are doing a quick detach sling all the time, and you're doing it in something aluminum like an M-lock rail, say, that has a little quick detach section in there, if you do it over and over again enough, you're going to wear the aluminum out, of course, because steel is harder than aluminum. So it's nice that they have the steel that comes with it. You can set it up anywhere on the M-lock rail that you choose to do so. And of course, steel back here as well, so that way it does not wear out. It is properly staked, which certainly is nice. And then it has a 7075 T6 forged mil-spec 6-position extension that it comes with, as well as the BC gunfighter stock. Fantastic stock. I have a full review of it if you guys want to check it out. But it's excellent. It's an excellent choice. And they went with the Magpul K2 grip. So a little bit more vertical than most out there, than your standard A2 anyway. And also the Magpul enhanced trigger guard, so you get a little bit more room in there for glove shooting or just a lot of shooting on the range. With a traditional trigger guard piece like a GI one, a lot of times it will scrape the bottom of your finger if you do a lot of shooting throughout the day. So definitely nice little touches there. At this point, I think I've touched on all of the important specs, features, etc. of the carbine. A few other things to talk about here before we close the video out. So first and foremost, it was sent out, like I said in the beginning, so just full disclosure on that. But for everybody who always says, like, YouTubers get hand-picked stuff, I guarantee you they didn't test fire that barrel. So there is that. Again, though, this review is of the one that we have here in front of us, which again, they replaced. Customer service is great, no issues there. And this one has been 100% reliable with any type of ammo we've put through it. Because of the problems I had with the first upper, in terms of accuracy, I put more rounds through this than I typically would. You know, most of my reviews are 800 to 1,000, 1,200-ish rounds. This one here has about 2,000 rounds, probably just over it actually at this point. And again, had zero malfunctions of any kind. The vast majority of that has been Remington ammunition, which big thanks to them for sponsoring the ammo here for the video. So no issues at all in terms of reliability. We've used steel case on this. We've used suppressed, unsuppressed, the Remington, the 855, M183 as you guys saw, as well as the match grade ammo. Again, it's eaten everything just fine. So the gas system combined with that, you know, flat spring and the H1 buffer eats everything up as it should. So reliability, good to go. Price point on this, when you purchase this, you have to purchase, at least as of right now, this could change in the future. You can either purchase the components individually, they sell all of them individually, or you can purchase the complete lower and then the upper as well to go with it. And right now, if you do it that way, this package right now is coming in right around $1,200. So in terms of price point, it's not obnoxiously expensive, but it's not cheap either in that regard. And I would say though, if you think about what you're getting, regardless of how you order your upper, for example, you're going to get a suppressor mount with it already from the factory, so that certainly is nice. And then obviously all the work is done if you order it together, so you don't actually have to build it yourself. If you wanted to buy the parts individually, I think it might be a touch cheaper, but of course, how much is your time worth, right? That's up to you guys to figure out. But price point wise, I think it's pretty much in line with what you're getting. You're getting a quality rifle for sure, and you're getting a fully ambidextrous one, which to a lot of folks is a huge deal. To me, it's not really a huge deal, but a lot of folks it is. It's a deal breaker that sets it apart from a lot of the other options out there on the market. And one thing I really like as well is how balanced it is. So with our lightweight handguard up front, as well as our, you know, continuous taper barrel with the fluting, I mean, it just balances very, very well. So in terms of being able to do pretty much any role, home defense, hunting, anything you could think of to do with an AR-15, this rifle certainly could do it and do it well. I feel confident with it. Again, we put more rounds than we typically do for our reviews, and it it's been 100% reliable. So can't really be mad about that. I think with that, I think we've covered everything, guys. If you have any questions that I didn't cover, you can definitely post them down below in the comment section. You can also post them at my social media sites here that you see on your screen. If you guys like this type of video and you're not subscribed, definitely hit the subscribe button, because we do in-depth reviews like this pretty much all the time. And if you like this one, you'll like the others as well. If you have subscribed and you've hit the notification bell and you're still not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week here on the channel, that means YouTube is censoring your eyes from my content. So you can sign up for my email at the website here on your screen. This email will go out at most once a month, and it contains all of the videos rather since the previous month's email. So that way, again, there's no censorship between my content and your eyes. And if any of this stuff goes on sale, which it frequently does, AR15discounts.com has a lot of really good sales that I post about on all my social media. But if any of this stuff goes on sale, we will put it in the daily deals email. You can sign up for that at the website here on your screen. As the name indicates, it goes out every day, and it has 6 or 7 of the best deals that you find around, that I find around the internet. And if it's, in the email, it is the cheapest that I know of anywhere on the internet on that particular day. So it saves you guys some time, so you don't have to do looking, and hopefully saves you some money as well, because again, it's the cheapest I know of. And with that, we will close the video out. Thank you all for watching. I truly appreciate it. I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.